Isn't it funny that whilst you're asleep, you get these sudden inspirations? So, why am I saying that? Stop trying to be the superhero for everybody else. Start being your own superhero. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that, you need to start taking care of yourself, because whether you're a leader, an entrepreneur, a coach, we have so much need to be everybody else's superhero. And you know what? It's time to shift that narrative. And one of the problems of being a leader, an entrepreneur, or a coach, where you're expected to be this pillar of strength and support for your teams, your clients, your organizations, quite often you're actually neglecting your own well-being. And being in the pursuit of helping others, that, well, leads to burnout and reduced effectiveness. So start being your own superhero. Start practicing self-care, self-compassion, setting personal boundaries. And that also means that you'll be able to thrive in your role as a leader, and people will want to follow you because you're setting those personal boundaries. They're learning to respect the boundaries that you put in place for yourself. And the thing is there's this sort of myth of the superhero that they've got to be invincible and tirelessly help and sacrifice their time for everybody else and to excel in their actual role. Now, obviously, being a superhero can be quite complex. And whilst it's well-intentioned and, well-meaning, it can have detrimental effect on your own mental and physical health. All whilst you're trying to help every single person in your life, whether that's personally or professionally, because you feel this need that you've got to actually be responsible for everybody else. And it's so important to understand that by taking care of yourself, it's not a sign of weakness, but it's also a prerequisite for your own success, an opportunity for you to thrive in everything that you do. So why self-care? Well, self-care is the foundation of resilience, because when you practice it effectively, your physical, your emotional, and your mental well-being starts to improve. When you prioritize self-care, you start to recharge your batteries, you reduce the stress, and that's where you increase your resilience, because you have the tools and resources to be able to manage and navigate any of those challenges, which makes you an effective leader. And that doesn't matter whether you're a leader within an organization, whether it's a leader as an entrepreneur or a leader as a coach, business owners. And when you lead effectively, that's directly linked to your own well-being. And by regularly practicing self-care activities like exercise, meditation, and your hobbies, things that you love, things that you enjoy, going out walking, you become better equipped to handle and manage the demands of your role. You've got more focus. You have more clarity. You can think so much better. And actually, those times when you're off doing your walking, your yoga, your meditation, exercise, doesn't matter what it is, because you end up focusing on other things as opposed to all of the things that are busy and going on in your life, you start to clear your mind. And that's when you get more clarity. And then, of course, self-compassion. What do I mean by self-compassion? It's that empathy that begins with yourself. Leaders, entrepreneurs, and coaches are very empathetic individuals by nature. They're often very compassionate to help others. By virtue of the fact they're described as a leader, means that there's someone that people will look up to. they may struggle to extend the same amount of compassion with themselves. And when you treat yourself with kindness and understanding, that essentially that you'd offer one of your friends facing similar challenges. I mean, one of the things that I recommend to many people is that, where quite often you'll have a friend or a colleague, a peer, a leader, even, whether it's a client or whether it's a supplier, they come and ask you for advice and guidance, and you naturally give it. You listen to them, you answer their questions and give them guidance of things that they could do instead. Well, why not start asking yourself that? Start treating yourself as a friend. So when you've got some of those challenges or problems, it's almost like you're taking those problems out and you've got your little friend there, in my case, Keely. And I start asking Keely questions and saying that I've got these problems or challenges. I start answering the same way as that you would do for a friend, a peer, or a colleague. And when you practice that self-care, that self-compassion, again, you build in that emotional resilience, and it stops you from creating that self-criticism, that erodes your self-esteem and stops you from thriving in the way that you do. And the thing is that, when you're helping everybody else all the time, which is lovely and fantastic, and being compassionate for everybody else, and you're not taking time for yourself, and you're being that superhero to everybody else, you start eroding your own self-esteem. And then finally, it's also about setting personal boundaries, the power of saying no. I was only talking about this the other day. Protect your own well-being. Setting and enforcing personal boundaries is essential for maintaining a healthy work-life balance. And when we set personal boundaries, it protects our well-being. It protects our own space. It gives us time to recuperate. And it's okay to say no. Because when we accept and tolerate other people taking our time, it takes our energy. It takes all of the focus that we've got to emotionally invest in something. And when we're blurring our boundaries due to the demands of our role, it then means that we are not respecting our space, and we're not allowing and showing others to respect our space. And when you set clear boundaries, it ensures that you have time for yourself, your loved ones, and which in turn will enhance your overall well-being and your effectiveness. And why is it so important? Why is it so important for you to be the superhero for yourself as a leader, an entrepreneur, or a coach? It helps you to build resilience. Quite often as leaders, entrepreneurs, and coaches, we face high pressure situations. And when we prioritize self-care, self-compassion, and personal boundaries, it enhances our resilience. It enables us to weather any challenge more effectively. So what do I mean by that? As a role model, leaders, entrepreneurs, and coaches who practice self-care and well-being inspire those that lead or guide to do the same. When we foster a culture of self-improvement and work-life balance, others start looking up to you and they start behaving in exactly the same way because they know it's okay to do so. Some of the most successful leaders within businesses, CEOs, whether it's sports personalities, all of those kind of things, the first thing they do in the morning is to practice their self-care, self-compassion, self-awareness, doing things like the meditation, the yoga, and all those kind of things. And it means that they then have the focus during the day. They take time out during the day for themselves, which then starts giving them the clarity and the focus that they need to be able to function on a much higher level, which is why they reach their full potential. So once again, as a benefit for a leader, an entrepreneur, or a coach, the things that it can help you with, it enhances your performance by prioritizing self-care. It helps with your mental and physical health to give you the peak performance that you need to be in your role. And ultimately, you achieve better results. It provides you with that emotional stability because it safeguards burnout, self-criticism, and it promotes, excuse me, it promotes that emotional stability, and you're able to maintain the ability to lead or guide far more effectively. And then, of course, it gives you the work-life balance. When you set your personal boundaries, it ensures that you have time for yourselves, your loved ones, and of course, as I've mentioned, it prevents a burnout, improves your overall well-being. So let's stop being the superhero for everybody else and start being our own superhero. Let's start to rise and shine beyond belief. And let's thrive and lead with unwavering confidence. So, remember, be your own superhero.